Buckle up, everyone, and welcome to Carpool Rugby League, show where two rugby league tragics talk everything rugby league on their way to or from work. I'm Graham.
I'm Shane.
Welcome aboard and on with the show. All right, Shana, so we're refreshed this week. We had our bye week last week.
Yeah, so feeling refreshed. We got the 2 points in the bag.
It's good to get it out of the way.
Good to get it out the way.
Been a bit of talk about the buys and where they land.
Yeah,
I was happy where we took our buy.
Yeah, I like where we took our buy.
Wayne Bennett wasn't happy that he didn't get it. He's not going to get his first buy until after 14 rounds. But we're a bit more happy with where we took ours.
Our buy. In saying that, I suppose we'll touch on Origin.
Yep.
Well done to Queensland. They came out with an intensity in the second half. Look, I think the problem with Origin is when you gauge what people thought of Origin, they're always going to go back to their club. You know, you talk to South Sydney fans and they're going to say Walker was underutilised. I feel he didn't get. I feel he really didn't get the service from Cook. We'd seen him play at South Sydney. I don't think he was. I think he was a bit overawed. I know there's a few people talking about Latrell Mitchell and how Latrell played.
Just on those 2 points there, just to say before we talk about Latrell Mitchell, Cody Walker. I think he was overawed. I think he was out of his depth. I don't think he injected himself in the way they hoped he would.
No, he was very conservative, wasn't he?
But that's what they picked him for. They wanted him to.
I agree. I don't think he played,
inject himself.
I don't think he played the game that he was asked to play.
Was he asked to play the game that is his game?
Yeah,
that's something we don't know.
That's what we don't know. I thought. Now people talk about Cleary. Cleary for me. When we had. I'm going to say we because everyone knows we're bloody Blues fans. When we had Queensland under the pump and he kicks it dead, that was a massive... We seemed to just let the pressure valve release every time.
Does Mitchell Pearce do that sort of thing? Or does Mitchell Pearce come up with a play that can...
The guy who I think should be picked and unfortunately can't be picked is Reynolds. Reynolds' kicking game would have just ground.
I think Luke Keary gets...
If we had Keary Reynolds, they would have ground their forwards couldn't get tired. Cook was brilliant. Damien Cook was phenomenal.
Yeah, I'll agree with that one. I think there's a lot of questions. The other question with Latrell Mitchell, he did not look like he wanted to be there. What they really need to sort out with Latrell is
poor bugger. I hope he's all right, but yeah, the poor bugger just didn't look like he wanted to be there. Like I don't know whether he had issues. I don't know whether service for him was a problem. I don't know whether he just didn't have faith in anyone inside or outside of him. I felt for him, and now in subsequent weeks, sort of afterwards, where he didn't come straight back to the Roosters, it must have affected him. So you don't want to see anyone be mentally affected by what they've done, but.
He was somewhere else. He wasn't there, and I think
what does this do for the game too, though?
But that makes it he's played big games before, and he's put on a performance when he wants to. The hardest thing is, can the New South Wales coaching staff, can Brad Fittler sit him down and it not be a case of does Latrell Mitchell want to play tonight? Yeah. How do I make him want to play? How can I show that this means something? Because you and I, we would sit down and watch it. Yeah. It means a lot to you or I, and it's frustrating as a fan that it doesn't look like it meant much to him.
Yeah, it's hard to make those judgments. But look, Queensland,
it's about managing.
Their forwards absolutely smashed the Blues at times. Look, Dane Gagai scores 2 tries on the wing. We know what the press has come out of Dane Gagai in the past 24 hours. South have come out and refuted it. South have said doesn't want to go anywhere. He likes where he's at. I'm telling you now, I don't think he could go anywhere and be a, if he wants to be a strong centre, I think, he's played for South in the centres. I know a lot of Queenslanders and I know a lot of Queensland people was questioning his choice. He goes on the wing, scores 2 tries. I know one was a gift, but you still got to run all the way and score it.
Tries,
he knows how to finish. Now, sometimes you need to be a specialist in an area, he's a specialist. Like, I just don't think... I don't know. Look, who do we believe? Do you believe the Daily Telegraph? Geez, because they're right all the time. Or do you believe what South Sydney are saying? Well, hang on. How many times has the club said, oh, no, he's happy, and 3 weeks later, he's out?
We'll touch on it a bit when we talk about South later, but in regards to the way their team's announced, I'm not even convinced he's going to play on the wing this week, so I think it might just be a bit of a beat-up and a long-term look to him playing on the wing, but we'll talk about that a bit more because we've got Alex Johnson named on an extended bench this week.
When I saw their side, I thought...
I'm not sure about that one.
Yeah, I agree.
The only other thing I want... You mentioned the Origin, just to finish up on Origin, you were talking about the forwards. You mentioned the dominance of the Queensland team. One thing I did want to mention, though, is the New South Wales forwards did look very good early on, and I wanted to get your thoughts too, and I'm sure the listeners might also be interested to see what you think of the use of David Clemmer. Now, he's not going to be there in Origin 2. He's been injured, and he'll be out. But the fact that he was used for practically the first 50-odd minutes of the game, he played the first half, played the first 10 or 15 minutes of the second half, and then he was done for the night. And that's really where I felt there was that big turning point.
I don't know
where we got dominated.
I don't know what his rotation. The only rotation, or the only reserve he got right all night was Cameron Murray. Cameron Murray come on and looked like he'd been playing Origin for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is, when you look at rotations, I just think he could see the Blues implode a little bit. Blues had a game plan which should have won them the game. I think stuffing around with it and trying to get players on and trying to get Whiten on, Whiten comes on, throws an intercept. Like, I just think they probably just should have stuck to what they knew. And it was working for a little while. And sometimes it's hard to inject yourself into a game where you haven't played it before. Like, we forget Damien Cook's first game for the Blues was solid because he made 50-odd tackles. He didn't run for a lot of metres. He didn't do what he did at South.
Bit of a different role that time.
Yeah, and I think that maybe the game plan was all over the shop. I know when Greg Alexander was quizzed about it, he got very defensive, which tells me that maybe they went slightly away from what they were originally doing. They took a shot in the dark and it didn't pay off, and it's cost them a win. It means that they're 1-0 down, and Queensland. Look, I've seen it too often, and we said it in our last podcast. Queensland can and have this uncanny ability to just pull it out of the bag. They've only got to play another 40 minutes of exceptional football to win this series. That's where we're at.
Yeah, so this next game obviously is going to be huge, but as you said, 40 minutes of football. This first half is massive for New South Wales, this game in Perth on Sunday week. Do you make changes? There's going to be forced changes, but is there anything that jumps out straight away where you say, that person, we have to change that up, or we need more spark here? Because Clemmer's going to be out. A lot of people are questioning the value of Walker at 5'8". I'm guessing from your opening comments, you're not one of them. You're willing to keep him in that role. Maloney was very good last week, and people are starting to talk about Maloney again after 1 or 2 good games. After 10 ordinary games, you have 1 or 2 good games around Origin time, and everyone goes, "Oh, maybe we should pop them in."
Kiri? I don't know. Like, the problem is, I think this round of club games are so important.
Yeah,
I think this can turn sinners into saints and saints into sinners. It's going to be very interesting. There's some very, very big key matchups, I think.
And key players that are playing this week, like Tom Trbojevic. He'll be there. Tom Trbojevic will play Origin 2.
And I think you've also got things like, you've got Walker up against the Penrith halves this week.
Yeah. And there's a lot of pressure on Walker this week because he doesn't have Reynolds there. He'll be working with Adam Dewey.
And the other thing is, You know, you've got people like Regan Campbell-Gillard's all of a sudden back in the frame. Now, I don't know how he could be dropped, play a good round. The other question is...
Pearce playing against the Storm. Don't forget that matchup.
Yeah, Pearce against the Storm. Jimmy the Jet comes on for South Sydney in his first game, and his stats look good. Scores a try, ran for some good metres, set up Hiroti, who absolutely bombed a sitter. Every South Sydney fan felt like throwing their stubby through the glass of their TV, because really it was... He scores there, South Sydney probably win the game. You know, like, he could have had a try assist, bag load of metres, did a mountain of work, was quiet early on but had a lot of tackle breaks. Do you say, hang on, if he has a whale of a game against Penrith, is he back in the frame?
Yeah, there's just so much to talk about at the moment. We could talk for hours on the off-field stuff, especially with the June 30 deadline coming up.
We've got to wait for the...
A lot of player movements as well.
DWZ, dogs. Dog-bound, apparently.
Yep. A lot of talk that Mana's leaving the Eels.
Yes, well, jeez. Mana to the Tigers.
Yep.
I don't know what the thinking is there.
A lot of talk about Tyrone Peachy
coming back to Penrith.
Well,
that was this morning, wasn't it? Really, that Tyrone Peachy's coming back to Penrith. That's 100%, and that they were going to grab that money, throw it at Dane Gagai to come to the Titans now.
Yeah.
Souths have come out since then, but yeah.
But we've heard it before too, where clubs have said, "Oh no, there's nothing in it," and then 3 weeks later, I mean, you can remember, Robbie Farrell was never leaving the Tigers, and then he showed up at South to talk. The situations like that. There's, you
Two
can't.
of shed.
There's just, you can't set your watch to any of this. You got to take it all with a grain of salt, and you've just got to wait until it fizzles out.
June 30.
Yeah, I think.
Can't wait for that to happen.
Yeah. I think when that rolls around, we might have a bit of a chat on the podcast about that, the whole systems. Anyway, yeah.
Strange.
Yeah, I don't know how we can just go, we'll go on to June 30 and then we're locked in. That's got to be looked at. Anyway,
Eddie.
Talk about a bit of footy.
We'll talk about the footy ahead.
We'll talk about this week coming up. So we're up to round 14 this week. As you said, there's some key matchups this week, and we're starting to see a bit of a change in the ladder. A few weeks ago, we were on here talking about teams breaking away, and now we've got a real gradual progression from first through to
for some teams,
8th.
For some teams, Origin's just a kick in the groin, really. Like, it's just an absolute annoying situation where you can't, you're not fielding full-strength sides. You compound injuries to that. Even the Storm, although they won, they looked very iffy. The Roosters just never got out of the blocks the other day. South Sydney were just, like I said, Hiroti scores.
They struggled.
They might come through to win. And you know what? This time of the year,
they were flat.
They were, but I think this time of the
Brisbane going down.
This time of the year, I think what the NRL really need to do is look at the frustration on players. Like we saw in the South Sydney game, 4 people got put in the bin. 1 person's been cited for a headbutt. We saw in other games melees break out. I think people get frustrated by this because what was working 2 weeks ago with their key personnel, all of a sudden they go play Origin, they don't have their key personnel, they're versing teams. I'm not calling those teams minnows, I'm saying they're teams that they would ordinarily beat, and all of a sudden stuff's not clicking, it's not working. I think this is what we're starting to see now with the ladder. That's why buys should be worth no points. Ladder pressure should not come down to this. Yeah. And I think that when we look at now the full sense and the games, it's a very hectic time.
Yep.
I know the premiership's up 1 in June, but geez, the difference between being top 4 and bottom 4, that's established now.
Well, if the footy in June didn't matter, you might as well give them a month off.
That's true.
Okay, so what we're going to do, we'll talk first of all about Thursday night's game. We've got the Raiders taking on the Sharks. This is down in Canberra. This game has just snuck up a few weeks ago, you might not have been as excited about it. This is a real top 4 contender clash. You've got the Raiders, Knights and Sharks all sitting on 16 points. The winner of this game will do well to push themselves forward and cement themselves as that real top 4 contender.
The excitement factor here is Canberra have some players back. You know,
yes.
3 weeks ago they were looking like they belonged in an episode of MASH.
Yeah.
Now they're starting to look like, hang on,
Getting Bateman back was huge for them, I think.
We're getting some plays again. We're getting some structure. We're getting some cohesion, and they look exciting again.
They've got that confidence to throw the ball around a bit, like we saw with some of their the points they scored last week. They were really, really fun to watch.
Cronulla, on the other hand, you know, depending on the week, it looks like they're a team that look like they could be top 4, and then the next week it's looked like they've just met each other for the first time.
Well, the big news, I suppose, for them in regards to their team, obviously you got Morris coming back. He was rested last week against Para. The big name you can see there in number 21 on the reserves list, Sean Johnson. So he's not named in the top 17. He's going to travel to Canberra with them. They're expecting him to play. Dugan's going from centre to wing. Aaron Gray's actually... he's actually on the reserves list there, dropping out because of Dugan going into the centres there with Josh Morris coming back. Going to the wing with Josh Morris coming back in the centres, I should say. Bit of a shuffle there. Positive with the players that are coming back in. Should be a belter of a clash. Who do you like in this one?
I like Canberra because I think Canberra can score points. The Sharks have shown that they struggle against those sides that can put points on them. Cronulla also hate being dominated in the forwards. Flip that, Canberra's edge defence over the years so far has been a bit iffy. If there's one team that loves scoring out wide, it is Cronulla. So it's sort of
they score a lot of points.
Yeah, it's like each other's kryptonite is exactly what the opposition's got in this.
They have had a couple of games this year, Canberra. Not many teams do it this year. They've had a couple of games where they've kept the opposition to nil, but I don't know whether they can do that against those top 4 contender sides and the challenges that might bring with a team that has the strike power of a Moylan, Morris, Dugan, even if Sean Johnson comes in.
For him. The problem with Cronulla is so far this year is when it clicks, it's beautiful. It's poetry, emotion. Geez, when it doesn't, it breaks down. You see knock-ons, and they just put themselves under constant pressure. I don't know what it is about Cronulla. Cronulla won't knock on 10 out from the try line, their opposition try line, but they'll knock on 10 out from their own.
Yeah.
They just put themselves under so much pressure at times. I just think for Cronulla, if they hold the ball and they do these sweeping backline movements, they've got very fast edges, they can reap havoc. They've just got to hold the ball.
I think...
I like Canberra. I just think Canberra
are a solid I'm not sure about this one. It's part of me is leaning towards the Sharks.
It's in Canberra too.
I mean...
Flip a coin.
That's the type of thing. When we're in these situations and we're unsure, we often say go with the home team. It'll be tough. Probably Canberra. I'm leaning towards Canberra because they're at home, but I wouldn't be surprised if by the weekend when I go put my tips in, I change to the Sharks. I really
stick with
don't know this one.
That's the punters saying what don't change.
Yeah, I'm getting
I'm choosing Canberra. I just think they've got their forward pack can dominate. They've got people who can finish on the left and right.
Yep.
For me, it's Canberra in Canberra.
Yep. Moving on to Friday, we've got the Gold Coast hosting the Warriors. That one's at the Gold Coast Cbus Super Stadium. In regards to team news, the Titans are actually coming off a good win. They beat the Broncos last week. That was a bit of an upset. I didn't see that one coming at all. We got Cartwright and Peachy are the starting back rowers. That's because we've got Proctor out with that fractured eye socket. That's a bit of a blow for them. And Hipgrave is suspended. Boyd will come onto the bench. Interesting pairing we're seeing there in the back row for the Titans.
I don't mind it though. I don't mind it. It's light, but ball playing. If you get my drift.
Yeah. There's some offloads, and you get the back rows in a bit of space. They can create some.
If you're not going to make meters, you might as well attract 3 defenders, pass it to someone who can.
Try and get that offload. So hopefully that works for them. The Warriors last week, they got done by Melbourne.
Looked good though for a while.
They haven't made any changes. I think they're fairly happy with their squad. They played a good team. I like the Warriors in this one.
Yeah.
I actually think that the Warriors, it's one of those games where you don't know which team of either is going to show up. You say which Titans, which Warriors are going to show up. But I actually feel as though, the Warriors, I just feel they may dominate that forward battle a little more and just lay the platform.
The Titans have been winning in chunks at times throughout their last 4 or 5 years. When you look at, they haven't exactly set the world alight. When they do win, they sort of can win in clumps.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if maybe they're going to use last week as a good momentum boost for this week. I
think they'll struggle to contain the props from the Warriors. Like Parsi and Armel, they were really good last week. Even though the team went down, they made a truckload of meters, and I just feel like if they get on the front foot against this Titans team, they might steamroll them. And if you and their edge, their edge backs, their outside backs, have a bit of sting in them in a sense that they'll make some meters too, do the hard work, and can be hard to contain.
Taylor, sorry, you go. Sorry.
And as I said, you give Roger Tuivasa-Sheck half a sniff and a bit of space after they lay that platform. I think that could be a bit of a concern for them.
Taylor and Roberts starting to play the football we know they can play.
Yeah, well, we've got Riley Jacks playing out halfback this week.
Yes,
at the Titans.
My apologies, he was named.
Yeah,
That's
so
right.
this,
That's
it's
right.
one of those things
Roberts
where
was the guy.
Yeah, so
because he scored that, he had that break last week.
Yeah, Roberts is.
And he really tore it open.
It's allowed Roberts to stand up a bit. We said that earlier on in the year where they had this shuffle and this change around with the halves. It's often when you get one that's out, the other gets a chance to stand up a bit. I like the Warriors. You can hear by what I'm saying. I like the Warriors. I actually think that they're,
Yeah, I'm the same. Look, I've got the Warriors by a nose.
Look, in the same thing, like...
I got to be honest, up until about 2 seconds ago, I was picking the Titans. I was.
Did I convince you?
No.
Look, with the forward battle, look, Wallace and... There's blokes from the Titans that are going to go forward too.
They just win in clumps, the Titans. Yeah. And the Titans, when they click, and certain plays... The problem is... The Warriors love to have a kip. Like, the Warriors are like, 20 minutes, all right, we're just going to have kip for 10, and then we'll come back. And they kip for 10, they lose by, they can see 20. And during that kip, they've just...
The Warriors have a chance to... They have an opportunity to sting out. These are those games that I think that the Warriors...
And I just think... I've got, the Warriors by nose.
Okay. Late game on Friday is going to be up at Townsville. Cowboys are taking on the Tigers here. So, look, I think the interesting thing here that we're starting to see at the Tigers is going off the back of what we were saying too with the player movement. There's been talk that Mahe Fanua, who's actually out this week, there's talk he might be leaving. You've got a bit of a shuffle there. You've got Moses and Bai. He's playing in the centres at the moment. I don't know. I feel like the Tigers, they were going all right, and then there's a little bit of a lull, and all of a sudden they're starting to go, we can't lose touch with that top 8 pack, and it seemed like a very quick turnaround into panic stations for the Tigers where they're at the moment, and they these two teams are both sitting on 12 points on the ladder.
Yeah, one looks like it's going gangbusters, and the other looks like an absolute shambles.
I'm tipping the Cowboys in this one.
The same here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I don't
can't.
really feel as though I'm just trying to think here and say, okay, what motivation can we have to really, talk up the Tigers? I like the Cowboys in this. I'm really interested to see, Granville versus Farrow. I think is going to be a good matchup in the number 9s. But yeah,
Benji.
Yeah, you got Benji, Mahe Fanua. They picked up injuries. Benji Marshall had that eye injury. It was good to see last week. We didn't get much of a chance to talk about it because we had the bye week. But it was good to see Chris Lawrence get through. I think he played about 70 minutes last week. So he's on the bench again this week after the injuries he's had. So good on Chris Lawrence. I hope that for the Tigers, I think it'll be close.
The thing saving the Tigers is this. The Tigers...
Some of their forwards have been playing well. Like Brian Madison, Alex Twall, they've had their moments.
Tigers are fine if they hold the ball. When they get a case of the dropsies, it's over. Forget it. Don't even bother.
Yeah.
The good thing with the Tigers is they got a Friday night game in Townsville.
Yeah.
So it could be a bit drier. It could be a bit more conducive than the dewy, wet conditions you get in Sydney.
Yes.
I don't think it's going to be as simple as saying Cowboys win.
No.
I think it's going to be...
Look at my tips lately.
I think what it's going to be is it's going to be the Tigers are just not going to have the answers for people like Tamalolo.
Yeah.
And I think I think he's the key. I think he just makes so many metres and he just tires opposition forwards out. Look, the Tigers, if they hold the ball, are going to be in this game up to their eyeballs. That's all they've got to do.
Sure.
Hold the ball.
Yep.
So, Tigers hold the ball, they're close. I just think there's enough class on the field for the Cowboys to get them home.
Yep. All right. Big game on Saturday down at Amy Park in Melbourne. Storm taking on the Knights. This is a huge game. As you'd imagine, as always with your team news in the Storm, there's very little changes usually there because they're performing every week. It's only usually Origin or something that's going to impact on that. They've got the same 17 that beat the Warriors last week. Ponga's back for the Knights.
Yep.
He was rested last week against South. As we know, Clemmer's still out with that that injury. But Ponga returning is going to be a massive boost for them. That puts Mann back in the halves and Lino dropping out to reserves. And I didn't think it was too bad last week.
It's just he was very good.
Yeah, it's just a case of
he got a repeat set last week that made me think he's a footballer. We've always had that question: is he a footballer? Isn't he? Does he have the skills to compete in the NRL? Last week, I know people's criticism of him was going to be the kicking game. What was his kicking game going to look like? His kicking game looked pretty damn good last week at times. So
there was the one or two little short kicks in there that weren't too bad. Pierce's kicking game was on too, so you don't really notice it if one goes a bit astray. The other interesting thing about this game that I have to mention, Aiden Guerra, they weren't really looking at him coming back this early. They were thinking he's probably going to miss another month or so. He's named on the reserves, so it'll be interesting to see if he gets slotted in as well. That'll be a boost to their forward pack, given that obviously they are missing Clemmer. But the forward pack got the job done last week against South.
They really frustrate South Sydney.
Hard to go past the Storm though.
I can.
Yeah?
I just think...
Storm going out in Melbourne.
I think this is where it's at for Newcastle.
This will show that they're fair income. If they win this...
You know what? There are too many individuals for Newcastle. They have far too much to play for. Pearce could be playing Origin in a fortnight. You've got Ponga wanting to show...
Big game for Ponga.
Ponga wants to show he can come back after an Origin game. You've got certain forwards in the Knights the Knights just want to keep proving they can do it week in, week out. This is it. Like if they can nab Newcastle, they would have nabbed the top 3 scalps in the NRL.
Roosters, South Melbourne. There won't be many teams.
I just think
they could be.
Look, I'll be honest with you. I think that's their Everest at the moment. That's the problem. When they win, if they win this week, where to from here?
Yeah.
I just think this is their Everest, and I think there's too many players primed for it. I do think Bellamy. I thought South Sydney at times showed the blueprint of how to get Newcastle. I think once you start getting on the edges of Newcastle and sort of inside balls on their forwards, they don't jam as well. It's going to be a massive game. It's going to be big. I just think that Newcastle just keeps showing up, and it's their Everest. That's why
would be. How good would it be for the competition to have Newcastle win this, and then, basically, to progress from where we were a month or two ago, where we were saying, it's a 3-horse race, and hopefully Canberra can do something. Newcastle's really stood up in the last.
The thing with Brownie, and the thing Nathan Brown's been able to do for the first time in his career, and I know people go, hang on, what about when he had St George? That St George Illawarra side should have won 2 or 3 premierships.
Yeah, he had a pretty good team.
He got a duck egg.
Yeah.
I think for the first time in his coaching career, he's got a side he knows how to work with.
Yep.
He knows what to do.
Yep.
There's no big power players.
There's no Trent Barretts.
There's no
they're working
knows what to do with them.
Yeah,
for the first time in his coaching career, he's isolated. He's got Newcastle. They're a bit away from Sydney. They don't have to deal with the crap that happens in Sydney. They can just walk away, go up to Newcastle, do their business, and do their job. And I just think they're just humming along at the moment. I've got Newcastle in my sights.
Well, it's momentum in the top 4 really.
Yep.
Because there's a few teams there on 16.
Well, Canberra winning. They're in a tussle with Canberra at the moment.
Canberra and the Sharks. Now the thing is, the Sharks and Canberra play each other.
Yes, that's right.
So one of those teams is going to move to 18.
Yep.
So the Knights need to win to sort of stick with them and sort of cement themselves as that contender. We also have I think this is a big clash we've got on Saturday. Rabbitohs are hosting the Panthers.
Big game.
Rabbitohs are coming off 2 losses. Injury period affected. However, the origin period, I should say, and injuries have been affecting them. Panthers have just knocked off the Roosters on the weekend. They'll be full of confidence with this one. South's missing a few troops. The main exclusions, as you could imagine, would be you're looking at Tom Burgess being suspended. Sam Burgess has gone off for that shoulder operation. Adam Reynolds is still out. The good news for Rabbitohs fans is that Cody Walker will be back this week. They rested him last week after Origin. So he'll be back in 5'8". Kyle Turner's returning from a toe injury, so he's been named in the centres, which is going to put Gagai to the wing, which we talked about earlier. That's a very interesting decision to have Kyle Turner, who's effectively a back rower, play in the centres and Gagai go to the wing. As I mentioned earlier, it's also interesting to see Alex Johnston is in jersey number 20. If Alex Johnston's fit, he's playing either fullback or wing. Whether or not that's enough to put Corey Allen back to the wing. Gagai and Roberts could well be the centres this week. So that whole story during the week might be a bit of a beat-up. However, the fairness of that is when Braden Burns comes back, you'd probably have Roberts and Burns as your centres, Gagai on the wing anyway. It's going to be a challenge. You've got blokes like Liam Knight having to stand up and start in place of Tom Burgess. Ethan Lowe's going to have to start in the forwards. Bit more pressure on them. Makes South Sydney's bench look a little bit weaker. Penrith were very good last week too. Players such as, and they're, as you could imagine, 1 through 17. I thought Maloney was really good last week, and I think this week the Maloney versus Walker clash, that's going to be the story going into this one.
Yeah, look, Maloney played out of his skin last week. Kick out he scored a try that was absolutely just power driven. You've got their forwards. Look, Penrith's resurgence in the last 3 weeks has come on the back of Cleary dropped his forwards. They've come back and they're playing football. They're playing a very depleted South Sydney side. If you wanted to, South Sydney in the last few weeks have been ripe for the picking, and this is why if they lose this week, they're staring down the barrel of 3 straight losses. I think for Penrith, the key is their forwards. South Sydney's, one thing we could say about South Sydney over the past few years, their forward packs don't get dominated. Their forward pack, usually it happens where their forwards will drop the ball. But on the whole, they don't get dominated. We're starting to see South Sydney's forward pack getting dominated. They're lighter on troops this week.
Yep.
My gut feeling would be that Alex Johnson comes into the wing because, having not played any football, slot him into the wing.
Corey Allen.
Keep Corey Allen at fullback. Gagai will play centre.
That's what.
They're going to need another person. They're going to need another big person on that bench, and that's going to be Kyle Turner.
Yep.
I think. Look, on the surface, if all the South Sydney players play well, their side's actually pretty well balanced. The guy for South Sydney I want to see plays Adam Dewey. Before he got injured,
Big game for
he
Dewey.
was becoming the next big thing.
Yeah.
He was the next big thing before he got injured.
A lot of pressure though with where he's been slotted in a top 4 team.
Yeah.
To play halfback.
Yeah, but that's his position.
Oh yeah, well that is his position,
and that's what he knows well.
And he's filling big shoes. You're talking up Adam Reynolds.
Look,
how big
I
a
thought he
player
should.
he is.
That's right. The other thing for Penrith,
Massive
they've gotten rid of DWZ, who, I'll put a shout out to Griffo, one of our mates, who says he's illiterate in defence. I thought that was that's a great way of describing it, and I agree wholeheartedly. Very good in attack, illiterate in defence. I think Penrith look like a side now with their forwards firing. They're far more balanced. The thing with Penrith is this: if they're going to give away 20 penalties and miss 50 tackles, they could be playing Lithgow workies. They aren't winning.
That's the concern. They need to make sure that they're holding the ball. They don't want South to have a lot of ball, and as you said, the penalties in the defence. Because if Damien Cook and Cody Walker, if they're in fine form, they could.
This was a very tight game the last time they played.
It was, and it could have gone either way. I'm just tipping South.
I'm the same.
Very
slightly, with absolutely no confidence. I've got no confidence in my tip in South. I just think that.
Don't condone a bet, but Panthers at 255.
Really?
Yeah.
Jeez.
South's 150. Very interesting.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah,
jump all over
don't think that's giving the Panthers enough credit.
I think the thing with the Panthers is you just still can't set your watch by them.
Yeah.
South Sydney, Wayne Bennett. Last week they went away from their game plan. South Sydney were caught behind the Knights. South Sydney got caught. They went away from their game plan, and they got frustrated. Had they just stuck to the game plan, they would have won. And I like what Bennett said. I thought what Bennett said was really interesting about South Sydney. There were 2 teams out there, only one wanted to win. Yeah. And I thought, that's, you know what? You can get a kick in the pants as much as you want when you get accused of not wanting to win. I thought that's about where it was at for Penrith. They were just sublime at times out of the blocks. The kick out was brilliant. I just don't think they can do it back to back at this point in time.
I'm going to make a call here. If Penrith win this, they can make the finals.
No.
They'll make a push. They can still make the finals.
They're too far in arrears. Their minus column, in my opinion, is just so...
I think they can.
They are winning games by 4 and 6. If they beat South by 30, I might change my tune.
I think they can make the finals. I think they can still make the finals. Some people think I'm crazy. Winning this week would be a massive step towards that. But especially with the bye still to come for them. If they beat South this week, they'll be 6 wins, 8 losses.
But with a minus what?
Yeah, okay. So say they win by 10. Okay, they're minus 95 at the moment. So they win by 10, they're minus 85. Look, you're looking at other teams. The contenders that they're going to be looking against. I understand what you mean, but look, you start to win games.
They have
that'll
the
sort itself
personnel
out.
to win 10 in a row. They do.
They can do it. I reckon they can be the late season run-in team. I'm calling it.
Okay.
Penrith make finals. They'll do it. They will.
Far out.
I have more faith at this moment of Penrith.
But you kick out, they won't.
I bet you kick out. All right, we might put something on it. Look, I've got more faith in a team like the Penrith coming through than I do, say, the Tigers, who are...
The Warriors?
The Warriors can't make it. I don't think the Warriors have it in them to consistently beat good teams, whereas I think Penrith can worry teams. Anyway, that's just me. On to the next one. I'll probably sound like an idiot. Someone will bring that up when they end up finishing second last. So a bit of MO for the punters on Facebook.
Shout out to our Panthers brethren.
Yeah, that's right. They'll be looking to hope I'm right. A lot of them. 7:30 Saturday. We've got the Eels taking on the Broncos. That's at Bankwest Stadium, the beautiful Bankwest Stadium. This game here, we've got the Broncos coming off a loss. They've been a bit up and down, the Eels. It's hard to know what to make of Parramatta and how they're going at the moment. In regards to the team news, Simmons back in first grade at the expense of Will Smith. Nathan Brown's going to start at lock this week. Moreau is actually back to the reserves, so that's an interesting one. Broncos, they've been actually hit a fair bit by injuries. And I think this is, for me, what's tipping me in the...
I'm in Camp Para this week.
I'm in Camp Para. Listen to this. We've got Dearden with his sister's Moses injury. Alex Glenn.
Yeah.
They're a couple of big outs. Gillett coming back, obviously, is going to be a good inclusion for them. I think Corey Oates is also back for them as well, which is, good. But... yet again, we've got another halfback in there, Sean O'Sullivan, for the Broncos. Bit of disruption there. At Bankwest, I said this one week and then they got dusted there, but I think at Bankwest, more often than not, Parramatta are quite comfortable playing there, and they look like they really like playing there. Like it's a genuine home ground for them, and that the home ground advantage makes a difference. I think for the Parramatta team to win, it's got to be about defence. Yeah. They can leak a point. So I think really for them, if they tighten up, the attack will sort themselves out. I like Para yet again. It's going to be a hard one to tip this week.
I was flipping a coin, and when you flip a coin, you go for the home side. I'm going for Para.
Yeah.
Look, the Broncos have been playing some good footy in the past month. The thing with the Broncos is they're just starting to, when they start to gel, someone gets injured, and I think that's
disruption's massive to teams.
Yep. So for me, it's Parramatta.
All right. On Sunday, we're out at Lotto Land for the Manly Seagulls and the St George Illawarra Dragons. I'm looking forward to this game. I do think, obviously, in regards to the team list, when you're looking at
I'm looking forward to seeing Trbojevic.
You're looking at Trbojevic, obviously. Another player that I'm really interested in seeing now that he's been playing a fair bit of footy and how Origin's going to affect him is Jake Trbojevic.
Yep.
I think it'll be interesting to see how he goes. This is a really busy time for him, and judging too by how he's being used in the New South Wales side, he did a lot of ball playing in that Origin game, and he's quite capable of doing it.
Yeah.
But it'd be interesting to see how he gets through it, because I feel like in the second game he might be doing a lot more just hard work up the middle with Clemmer gone. Interesting to see how he manages that. I like the Seagulls in this one, actually.
The problem with the Dragons, they are a fireless, breathing dragon. They are nothing. They are cold, and they're running stone cold at the moment. They can look at times. They can come through and show glimpses of the team that they sort of were at the start of the year. They are just struggling with consistency. They're struggling with the ability to be able to penetrate opposition defensive lines. They go sideways so often to try and find a way around them that you feel like they're just clutching at straws. I can't go past Manly in this. I think Manly are just going to wipe the floor with them. Actually, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I've been wrong like that before.
I'd seen, as we said too, like we had Trbojevic back last week. He's got his second game under his belt this week. Teams are being announced on Sunday. Tom Trbojevic, I'm talking about here. I feel he'll be in that Origin team. Yeah. So yeah, as I said, not a lot of team news in that one, with both teams sort of the same as last week. It's just interesting to see, as we said, with the Trbojevic brothers. I think the spotlight will be on them. Tom's how he's going into Origin, whether he'll get picked, which I think he will, and Jaco's going to manage that load.
If the Dragons get pumped this week, I think it's time for change. I think it's time to start looking at what they need to do.
Alright, so Manly for that one.
Manly.
We're agreeing on that one. Okay. Big game at the SCG. Like two clubs that traditionally are, I suppose, quite prominent in the NRL. The Bulldogs this year have been very disappointing, but hopefully the Dogs fans get out to the Sydney Cricket Ground to watch them play the Roosters. For the Roosters, they're the home side. Latrell Mitchell and Angus Crichton coming back. They were rested after the Origin last week. Bit of a shuffle there with Mitch Orbison going back to the bench. For the Bulldogs, very, very interesting to see here. Dallin Watene-Zelezniak named in the centres to make his debut. So we're actually seeing slot straight into the centres there. So he'll be partnered in the centres by Will Hopewadi. Not a bad centres pairing there.
No.
They'll be excited about that. The Dogs. Do we see enough in the Dogs to worry the Roosters though?
If I opened up the team sheets for this week and I saw that all the Hughes boys, Terry Lamb and Mortimer were playing, you got half a chance. Look, the poor Dogs, they're a shambles. They're not even the silver linings that they had at the start of the year. Even they're dissipating now. Yeah. I don't blame Dean Pay. Like, the poor bugger's just got, you can't make a silk purse out of a sow's ear, as my dad used to say. But you can't, he's trying his best. There are times there are games that they've lost where they should have won or could have won that I think now are mentally weighing on the Dogs.
It's hard to get up at this point of the season when you've won 3, lost 10.
And you've just been ground into, you've just been pummeled at times.
Yep.
I think for the Dogs, it's now more mental and skill. Where it's just skill, but you've got the mental toughness to sort of turn up, for a chance. You've got some ability. But when the mental elements of the game,
when the going get tough, they struggle. I think of the game a couple of weeks ago. It was Canberra they played against.
Yeah.
They lost 12-10 to Canberra, but just those tight, and you feel like those tight ones they lose, and then they'll come out the next week and get belted. This is a week 2 for the Roosters to turn it around. They won't be happy about that loss last week.
No.
We're an extra week removed from Origin. You'd be a pretty brave person not to tip the Roosters in this one.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, so that's this week preview. Just so that everyone's up to speed with what's happening, I might just quickly shuffle through the ladder as it stands. Keep in mind with this ladder, we've had some teams that have had buys, others haven't, but that'll all sort itself out in the end. Anyway, as it stands, we have the Storm coming first on 22 points. The Rabbitohs are in second on 20. The Roosters are third on 18. And the Raiders are fourth on 16. Also on 16 points in fifth and sixth are the Knights and Sharks respectively. Sea Eagles sitting just behind them in seventh spot on 14 points. The Eels are in the 8 on for and against only. They're on 12 points, along with the Broncos, Dragons, Tigers and Cowboys, all on 12 points. So for fans of the Broncos, Dragons, Tigers and Cowboys, the only thing stopping your team from being 8th position and in the top 8 is for and against.
Yep.
And some of those for and against they're quite close. So it's one point in it between the Eels and the Broncos. So a couple of big games for some clubs there that are just sitting on the edge there. 13th spot, we've got the Warriors. They're on 10 points, I should say. Also on 10 points are the Panthers in 14th. 15th is the Titans on 8 points. And last place, 16th, we have the Canterbury Bulldogs on 6 points. All right, so that's about us done for this week.
Yeah, look, there's some big things coming up in this week of football. I think some of those players that may have thought, you know what, my shot at the Blues this year is over. They've definitely got a lifeline this week. You're going to see them play well. I think some players want to consolidate their origin worth. I think we've got a week of football where really there's only maybe 1 or 2 clear-cut games. Everyone else can be fairly tight.
And even when you think they're clear-cut, we found out recently you can't
the big thing is, we look at South Sydney. They could be 3 losses in a row.
Yep.
The Roosters will want to aim up again.
Storm have a tough game.
They've had the dropsies of recently, and Storm have a tough game. So, you can't set your watch by anything at the moment in the NRL. That's the salary cap. That's why we love it. So,
Keeping it nice and even.
Keeping it nice and even. So, enjoy your week of football. Be good. Take care. Keep safe. And we'll see you again next week. I hope your team wins.
Take care.
Bye now.